Hello, everyone. My name is Casey Kendel. Welcome to Casey's Corner. We're coming at you from Gilbert, Arizona at the 1010 Studios. Joining me today, we've got a great show. I've got Serena Ocenas and Jasmine Ocenas from Credit Pro Max. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us. You're so sweet.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we get started, because I know we have a lot to talk about, credit's a very important thing. I'm going to plug my book. So, Commercial Insurance Simplified, a real world approach for small businesses. I'll go ahead and leave the description or the link in the description. You can grab that on Amazon, and I highly recommend anybody who's got any questions about commercial insurance to pick that up, or reach out to me directly and I'll get you a free copy. So let's jump in. Serena and Jasmine, Credit Pro Max. Let's do this. Tell us, if you would both tell us about yourselves and Credit Pro Max. What are you doing?
Well, we started when I actually became a victim of my credit being taken advantage of. And I literally got on my knees and asked for help because I had no idea what credit was. So, and I literally got on my knees and said, Lord, help me understand this thing called credit. That was my exact words. And literally 2 days later, he brought somebody into my life that I will forever be grateful to, and really taught me this thing called credit. And since then, like, I just feel as though we needed to be a voice for the consumers that were in the same exact process, in the same position, so we can actually give back and help them to understand this thing called credit.
Yes, and I was grateful enough and blessed enough to be able to grow up in a household where I was able to learn about credit and what it's about and be able to be financially literate. And so basically I just fell in love with the industry and being able to help people and fix people's credit. And so then I wanted to join the family business, so I was able to help out.
That's amazing. I think I personally think that credit is one of those mysterious things that you either understand or you don't, and could haunt you or make you.
Yes.
And I can share my own personal story of like trying to buy a house and sending off letters myself and printing out these letters, please remove this account and those types of things. I'd love to hear about the process. But let's start with some of the biggest misconceptions in the credit world, and in the credit repair world, and what that looks like.
Sure. I believe as when we're consumers and we really don't know what's going on with your credit, and you feel as though that, okay, you made a mistake or you were late on something, whether it was your fault or not, because let's just face it, computers and just, things go wrong, right? And sometimes it takes you out of a cycle and you're no longer on auto payments. And, that's happened to me and a whole bunch of good friends of mine. And they're like, oh my goodness, like now I have a ding, right? And so, but sometimes in a situation, especially after COVID, you were in a situation, a lot of people were in situations where they had to drop everything to take care of family members, right? So what do you do then? And, what are you going to do? Wait 7 years for that to fall off? I mean, 7 years is a long time.
It is.
Right? And so we use a lot of consumer, rights and laws and regulations in order for us to really go and hit it hard for the consumer, because the federal government is really on our side when it comes to credit, because a lot of people don't know that the three bureaus aren't government entities. So people think that...
Let me stop you.
Yeah.
The three credit bureaus are not tied to any government. They're private organizations.
Well, they're private, but they're not governmental. So the federal government does not like the three bureaus. And there's a lot other bureaus that we can get into later. And that's the other misconception, that there's only three bureaus. There's about 6 other sub-bureaus to the three bureaus. And so they decided to just one day get up and create a company and said, hey, we're just going to go ahead and create credit for people. And display their entire information to the world without our consent. So the government doesn't like that. The federal government is on the consumer side. And that's why there's so many laws and regulations to protect us consumers in order for us to be able to fight back against the information that's being shared out there to the world.
Wow. Wow. I knew I was going to learn something this morning. I didn't know it was going to be in the first 30 seconds. So I appreciate you sharing that. What impacts the credit score the most?
Oh, you like me to answer? So, I say what impacts it the most are the derogatories that come with it, and what a lot of people don't know are also the inquiries that come with it as well, because inquiries take up 1 to 5 points each inquiry that you do have. So, I would say definitely the derogatories and the inquiries as a whole. And let's say someone doesn't have any inquiries, then I would say the payment history and not being able to pay something on time. And it's just crazy how that can affect someone's credit so drastically, because even if it's just a mistake, you're going to have to wait 7 years unless you come to us. So, yeah, I would say the derogatories for sure.
Right. In a positive way, what impacts your credit the most is also having a diverse accounts that you have. So if you have a personal loan, a auto loan, credit cards, and not just any credit cards, because you don't want those small itty bitty ones like $200, $500, because eventually you want to look like an adult on your credit, right? And you want to go make some adult moves, which means that you want things that are going to reflect you as an individual that is going to help you to get that. So having $500 credit cards, people think that that's a great place for you to start build your credit. But when banks see that and you're trying to go get some loans, it's not going to help you to go get the loans that you want. So I would say have at least $2,500 or more on a credit card, and have like a personal loan that you're paying, a car loan that you're paying. If you don't have a mortgage, get rental history that's, backdated to like since the time you're 18, whenever you started renting. So all those things can actually positively like influence your credit report and your scores.
Wow. I remember being like 18, 19 years old, and I got my first credit card. I won't name it, but I'll just name it or something random like Discover.
Right.
And it was like $400, and it was like, woo. And I think I went out and immediately bought like a Boomy system for my car, which was probably not the smartest thing to do, because then I ended up probably paying about $800 for that over the long run.
Oh, yeah. I remember being on college campus, and they were having you sign up for free credit cards. And they're like, oh, yeah, you get a credit card, you get a credit card, and you're just like, okay, great. And you're assuming that this is free money because nobody's taught us what financial literacy is, right? And so I literally went and blew it on alcohol, and I was in college, right? Yeah. And I was like, oh, this thing's broken, it's not working anymore, see you later, bye, right? Like, I didn't like go and say like, hey, I need to pay this. Nobody tells you that. They're not telling you like, hey, you're going to build your credit, here's a credit card. Like, nobody's having those responsible conversations, especially on college campuses. Like, all those people are getting bonuses for as many credit cards that they can get people to sign up for, right? So you don't want to fall into that. You want to be like, you know what, not only for yourself as an adult, but if you have children in the mix, you want to tell them and have these conversations early on and say, hey, child, this is what you want to do. This is how you're going to preserve yourself. This is how you're going to build your credit, and be smart about it, right? Because those weren't conversations, unfortunately, I was having with my parents. So I'm having those conversations with my children.
Is there a way that a parent can directly impact positively a child's future credit, whether they're 18 or a minor? What does that process look like?
A lot of people don't know that you can actually put your newborn on your credit card. So it's called, so you can actually, as soon as your child gets their
that could be good or bad.
Yeah, exactly. No, but you don't obviously want to have them use your credit card, right? Unless they're going to college and you're like, okay, have that conversation. But you can actually build their credit right off the gate. But that's called an authorized user, right? And when you go and get like a house, those are okay, those are acceptable to have. But if you're trying to get a house, or if you're trying to go get a loan of any type, they're not really looking at that as a respectful like line on your credit. So you want to have a lot of primary accounts too. And if you don't know what primary accounts are, we can go into that too.
What's a primary account?
So primary accounts are like, let's just say you went to the bank and you got your own loan or your own credit card, but it's under your direct account, like it's in your direct name. So you applied for it. It's your own social security number, and it's a primary account that you applied for, right? So it's not like under somebody else's account, like, okay, you know what, mom and dad let me use their credit card and put it on my account. Now I have a 800 score because of it, right? But this is like your own credit card, your own loan, your own like car, right? Now, in the car loan situation, you can have co-ownership. So you can definitely borrow each other's credit, but then mom and dad are also accountable. So like, let's just say one of us, are on mom and dad's credit, and then we didn't pay on the cycle. Now mom and dad's credit is bad too because we didn't pay. So like, there's a lot of responsibility.
It's a double-edged sword, for
it
sure.
is.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
What are some mistakes that you see people making over and over and over again?
What I see people make mistakes on the most is just having people run their credit no matter what, and having all these inquiries on them. I have taken care of people's credit where they have 80 inquiries on their credit report on each bureau, and it's just insane to me how they just let anybody do whatever to their credit. And but I think that's also in part of having the business being able to communicate with the client, educate the client on what they're doing on their behalf. So I think it's both aspects, but also being able to just make sure that you know what you're doing when going into that situation.
Now, when you say inquiries, that could be everything from like, hey, I'm going to go get XYZ credit card, but it also could be like something from a box hardware store or a retail store, something like that.
Yeah.
Because I know they have a really big push. I mean, it seems like every time I go buy a 2x4 at my favorite store that's orange, they're like, would you like a credit card? Now, I have one of those cards because I seem to do a lot of projects, but they push it big time. And those is a retail card like that. And I can remember my buddies making fun of me because I had a Sears card. And I went and bought tools.
Right.
And they made fun of me because I had a Sears credit card, which for the kids, Sears was a retail store, and it's the whole thing. But can those help? Are they derogatory? Do they build?
They can definitely help if you are paying it off on the right time, and if you are actually using the cards that you are getting. But let's say that people are just going out and trying out different things and just getting inquiries on their credit report for no reason, then I would say to stay away and not do that necessarily.
Those are typically even higher interest rates than like a traditional credit card?
It depends, because your interest rates are always going to be based off of your credit. So the better credit scores you have, the better interest rate you're going to have, right? Credit cards are just they fluctuate up and down according to whatever the economy is doing at that time. So no one can really predict what your interest rates are going to be, whether on a loan, line of credit, a credit card, right? But what we want to do is we want to make sure that you want to keep your utilization below 30%. If you can keep it below 10%, that's even better. That's really where you're going to get like the best like credit scores, is if you keep your utilization below 10%. And also like we can actually get inquiries taken off like before it hits their credit. So if you want to get rid of those inquiries, it's like a lot of people are like, oh, you can't take them off of primaries. When you get a primary account, you can if the cycle hasn't hit and it hasn't hit your credit yet. So we can do that, but we always have the client actually activate their accounts first. Or when it's a loan, it's like we can do that immediately, just so those inquiries aren't like going to be stuck on there for the next 2 years. Because once that account goes live on your credit, those inquiries have to stay for the next 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And there's no way to remove those.
No, not if you do it and the account hits. No, you can't. But if you do it and you get your card, or if you get your money, we can get it taken off before that 30 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So when you say like a 10% utilization, if I've got a card that has a $2,500 max, I want to keep it at about that 250
Yes.
or below.
Now, it doesn't mean you can't use your credit card to the max, right? Because the credit card company wants to see you use your card so they can actually be able to give you more money later, right? And that's usually a 3-month cycle. So let's just say that you use your money, you're paying it down, you're using your money, you pay it down. 3 months later, you can actually go back to your credit card company and say, hey, I would like for you to increase my line of credit with that credit card. So basically, like, you're going to be able to ramp up on like how much credit card limit you have, like every 3 months. And because the credit card company wants to give you more money, you know what I'm saying? So you just, and once you do that, when you eventually get to the business side, if you were to be a business owner, that those limits are going to help you to get higher limits on your business credit cards as well.
I do want to talk about business credit and what that looks like, primarily for my personal reasons. So maybe we can diagnose my situation a little bit. But let's talk about, like, realistically, what's the timeline to improve a credit score?
On your business or credit?
Let's talk about
credit.
personal.
Okay. Go ahead.
So it really just depends on the client, right? So every client is very, very different. That's why we do a consultation to make sure that we're doing a deep dive into someone's credit. It's not just gonna be a one and done deal. So it really just depends. But we would have to take a look at everything. But we usually are able to take off everything in 30 days or less, because the bureaus are legally supposed to respond in those 30 days.
Yeah. Right. But in order for you to actually have really, really good accounts, let's just say you don't have derogatories, right? History is one of the strongest things that you can have in order for you to have really, really strong credit. So let's just say that you have like accounts that are 2 years or older. That's why, like, after you surpass a 2-year mark and everything's going well, they'll give you like a 20-point boost at that anniversary, right? So the longer history you have on an account, the better credit score you're going to have. That's when you're going to start reaching that, like, 800 mark, 850 mark, is when you start having accounts that are a little bit older in age.
What it sounds to me like there's no real quick fixes, that it's more of a long-term strategy.
Well, yes and no. Basically, like, there's the organic way of doing it, right? When you're trying, let's just say that you have like new accounts, like new loans, right? And you have new credit cards, right? You can pair them up with your mom and dad's like 10-year credit cards, which can help you to increase your history, right? Because now you're just borrowing the history, not just like the line itself. So if you can borrow the history along with really good accounts that are like, just 6 months old or whatever, that can give you that score very, very quickly.
And bump up.
Yes.
How impactful are, we hear a lot about like medical bills and stuff like that. Is that derogatory towards credit, or can it be?
Yeah, it definitely can be, especially when it's not being paid. Anything that's not going to be paid is going to be derogatory on your report. It is unfortunate because it's something that you do go through that you can't control, and some people can't be able to afford it, but it is definitely something that can affect your credit for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a big topic.
Yeah, because like usually when you have anything pop up on your credit, it's usually because you haven't paid or weren't able to pay that debt. So that's the only time medical is going to appear on your credit. So we basically, go to bat for them and get that off within 30 days or less, because a person should not be judged by their medical history. Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of, I'm just going to shoot from the hip here, like HIPAA stuff that might go into it.
Yeah.
And my health shouldn't determine my
Credit.
yeah,
Right.
my financial standing.
Absolutely.
That seems like a total different topic
Right.
that involves a lot of other stuff I
Well,
don't really
right.
want to get into.
Right. But again, that goes back to like the FCRA laws and regulations and stuff, protecting the consumer rights when it comes to exposing all of our personal information. There's just information that we shouldn't have to share on our credit report. A banker should not have to see like, oh, you know what, Serena or Casey or Jasmine were actually at in the hospital, God forbid, and like something happened to them, right? Like that's not the banker's job to analyze that.
Sure.
Right. And that's the only time we're sharing our information is when we're trying to go and shop for money or for a house or for a car. Right. Why is everybody else being able to see that? That has nothing to do with anything. Because if that's the case, because something has to had happened for you to get to the hospital, for you to deal with whatever you were dealing with.
Absolutely.
Right. So, and that shouldn't have to be an impact on somebody's life or their ability to have credit be extended to them.
So Serena and Jasmine, let's talk about business credit. And that's probably the place where, even though I own a business, in fact, I have a couple, and I know nothing about business credit. I have a business credit card, but it came from my bank, and it kind of gets automatically taken out every month, and that's just what it is. And we monitor it and stuff like that. But why should a business owner care about credit, and how are they utilizing that?
That's a really good question. And I feel as though it's a really important question for us Americans, right? Because nobody's talking about this. A lot of small and medium-sized businesses are using their personal credit to go and get like money to start their businesses, which in the beginning we understand that's important because you have to start somewhere. But there's a lot of SBA-backed banks, which a lot of people don't know that 80% of all financial is backed by the SBA, and that's why they can actually keep their rates lower and competitive as well. So, and they have to allocate these funds to the smaller businesses. And if they don't, they get those funds taken away from them. So it's really important that we have these conversations with our local banks, and credit unions are really, really good as well. With that being said, you need to be able to keep everything separate from your personal and your business. The reason why is because you don't want to commingle your personal with your business and be able to have your business be accountable for its own actions, right? And I'm speaking as someone that's talking as a business, as this own entity, and like, or a child or a grown up, because we should, because your personal individual consumer, and now you're crossing over into the business world, and your business is considered as its own entity because it has its own EIN. That EIN is the same amount of numbers as a social security number has. And that's not done by coincidence. It's on purpose. So lean on that business and to be able to keep everything separate. So God forbid, if something doesn't work out, they can't come after your own personal assets.
One of my I don't know if I can say issues, but every time I've had an SBA conversation, and I know that this isn't necessarily the topic of our conversation, but it's the collateralization of that loan. And so sure, we'll give you $300,000 of credit for your business, but hey, guess what? You're going to have to put your house up for that. And those types of things scare me.
And it is scary. So there are loans that you can get from the SBA that are not collateralized, and I believe they brought that down to about 300,000. But you have to ask your banker to see what that cap is. And I would highly suggest, especially as you're developing as a new business owner, is you get to know those limits, and you don't want to have anything collateralized, like you said. That's very, very scary, right? Like for it to be like, hey, I'm going to put up my house to go into business. And that's, again, very bad practice as a business owner, right? Because you want to keep your personal stuff separate. Try to create a C corporation rather than an LLC or an S corp, because a lot of people think, like, I know LLC is really sexy to say nowadays. LLCs are still limited liabilities, right? So that means that the bank can actually come after your own personal assets. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine got a really great credit card with a bank, and it was about like $75,000, which is a really great limit, right? And it was a business credit card. He had an LLC, and he tore something in, like in his leg where he wasn't able to drive anymore. His business was very high in driving, things like that. He was no longer able to perform. He was no longer able to pay his credit cards. They actually, over a credit card, put a lien on his property.
Wow.
And then they foreclosed on his property. So while he's going through this, again, medical stuff, and very responsible, had 800 scores, just went through stuff, and now he has no longer a house.
Wow.
And so be structured the right way. Just because you have to pay a little bit more taxes, it's better for you to have a standalone company than be attached to a company that you're going to be personally liable for later if, God forbid, something happens.
Yeah, and this isn't an insurance conversation, but if they can pierce that if they can pierce that veil, then they can come after you for other things. Like if they were to be involved in a car accident or something like
Correct.
that, then it can really start to trickle down. And you know what they say about it, it rolls downhill.
Oh my goodness. Like having business insurance is so important. I don't know the ins and outs of like lending stuff, right? But let's just say like something happens in your business. It's so important for you to insure your business because honestly, it is a bubble that kind of protects you. So God forbid something happens or in your business or someone's trying to make you liable, they can definitely tap into that professional insurance. And you and I have never had this conversation, but I just learned more about it. And again, another educational moment. Like we need to be able to talk about this stuff and how like small businesses and things like that, what they need to do to protect themselves.
Yeah, I wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
It sounds to me, can a business get funding without using their personal credit?
I say yes and no. They always look at your personal credit. But if you are a more established business, then it's going to be easier to be able to just use your business credit. For example, a business that is 2 years or older, and then be able to get that funding. But if it's someone who is more newer and is a startup company, it is going to be a bit harder, and you're going to be a PG on it.
Yeah. So the type of funding that Jasmine's talking about, small businesses and medium, all sorts of businesses get if they're going to base it just off of their EIN. But with those, they're a little bit more like merchant cash advances as well. And a lot of people think it's okay to go ahead and get funding like immediately, which eventually does hurt your business because they're taking out money on a daily or weekly basis. For small businesses, when you're getting money taken out and there's an interest paying that you're having to pay almost every single day, that can literally lead you down to bankruptcy, right? You're working way too hard for you to do that. So if you have the option of actually getting your personal credit involved with a business credit, do that. That doesn't mean that you're having to like be accountable for it. Your business, your EIN is still going to be accountable for it, but for you to get better terms, and where you're paying monthly and you're getting like better rates and things like that, is always going to be matching it with your good credit as well with the business credit.
Are there any industries that have a more difficult time with credit in the business?
Yes, yeah, definitely. I would say restaurants for sure, construction companies that are startup. It's mostly just startup companies who aren't very established once again, so pretty much just startup companies. But yeah, you really want to be able to have those years on your company to be able to get that. That's what just lenders are looking for.
Sure.
Right. And also to get around that stuff, right? Jasmine, you made such a good observation on that scenario. Create a company and then do a DBA, right? So create a company that doesn't say restaurant, and then do a DBA where you're going to be able to do a restaurant, right? So on paper, you want to start like any country that you go to, right? Whether it's America, South America, Europe, you want to speak the language of wherever you are, right? So people have to start understanding that banking has its own language. So you have to learn to speak the language first, right? And knowing like, okay, on paper, this is going to look good. So I don't look like a high risk industry. Build up your like, financials as far as like, having the right type of bank statements and stuff like that. You'll notice a lot of Fortune 500 companies, when you look at their corporations, they're not even reflecting the same name that you have, like, when they're what's on their billboard or in front of their building, right? It'll say like, ABC, C corporation, right? Or Inc. or whatever, but their business, but they're like saying like, oh, it's Casey's Corner, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you want on paper, you want to look ambiguous. So, and look more like consulting. And then that could be consulting to the business that you're running, right?
Like Prosperity North Advisors.
Yes, right, exactly. So the
Or
name,
Briggs and Oakmont Stratton.
exactly. Be ambiguous about your name, and then also pick out the right NAICS codes as well, or SIC codes, because those codes are going to be very dependent on if the banks want to lend to you or not, because they're going to say like, oh, this is high risk, or no, we like this, right? And also surpassing the 2-year mark. So right out the gate, if you can purchase a 2-year older company and be able to start that way, we can actually help you to get a shortcut.
Oh, wow.
For the 2 years, and then you can make a DBA into whatever company you want to name it at, and have the website according to that.
XYZ operating company.
Exactly.
Incorporated, not
Exactly.
LLC.
Correct.
Got it.
And that's again my opinion, but I'm just trying to protect my consumers.
Understood.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
This has been an amazing conversation. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some real life scenarios and go through that. But let's get a quick shout out from our sponsor, Prosperity North Advisors.
Commercial insurance can be complicated, and most business owners don't realize they're exposed until something goes wrong. At Prosperity North Advisors, we work with all types of businesses: startups, established companies, sole proprietors, and teams from 5 to 100 employees. No matter the size or stage of your business, we can handle it. We specialize in assisted living, pest control, and service-based businesses. We know exactly how to handle your risk. Fleet of vehicles, we can help. Work comp challenges, we got you. State or vendor compliance, same day turnaround on your documents, guaranteed. And in most cases, we're helping clients save 15 to 20% while actually improving their coverage. So if you're not 100% confident in your business insurance, it's probably worth a conversation. Prosperity North Advisors. Our mission is to protect your prosperity.
All right. Thank you, Prosperity North Advisors, for all your commercial insurance needs. Please reach out and we'll have a great conversation about that. So we are back with Jasmine and Serena. We've had a great conversation so far, not only about the personal credit side, but also the business credit side. So let's break it down. Can you share a success story that you've recently had?
Yeah, for sure. A success story that is pretty recent that happened in the last month or two is that we were able to work with a mortgage broker, and he had 2 clients that were a couple who came from out of the country, which was from Fiji, and they didn't have any credit, didn't know about credit at all, because in Fiji, you don't have to have good credit or any credit at all to be able to get a house, or to live anywhere. So we were able to educate them on what credit is and walk them through the process and be able to build their credit up, because we don't just fix people's credit, we also build people's credit up as well. So we got the honor of being able to help them out and educate them on what credit is and how to help them stabilize in it as well. So, and then be able to get them in that house that they wanted to get into.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically, they had an ITIN number, and when you don't have a social security number and you're from out of the country, that's what it's called. And so we were going into it kind of blind because they've changed some rules and regulations. You can't go to any of the bureau websites and be able to download any personal consumer reports with an ITIN number. So we went to 5 different locations just to make sure that, like, and this just happened this last year. So, but the couple was so kind, and they were in the double digits when going into their home, right? Interest rates. So they went from like those double digits with their hard money loan to like actually the best interest rates in what the economy is dictating right now in a matter of 10 days.
Wow.
And so for that mortgage a broker and company, we've helped write about $1.2 million of business in just the last 2 weeks.
Wow. How does international credit, you mentioned Fiji, and they probably have their own system. But if someone is coming from Asia or Europe or even South America or something like that, the way that I'm going to tie this in is from an earlier segment that we have where these are private organizations, not necessarily government backed, and they might even have some conflict there. But how impactful is international credit, and what does that look like for someone coming either into the United States to either open a business or purchase a home?
So the only time we deal with international credit is when the client is actually here in the United States. So because nobody really uses credit like the United States does. So when when people come from the other country, they're very, very hardworking, and they want to get a house and be able to live the American dream, right? So basically, we're helping people to live their dreams out by partnering up with these type of companies and to be able to basically help their credit to grow in the next 10 days or so. So when it comes to mortgages, people do not have to have primary accounts. They can actually be able to have authorized users. That's the only time authorized users, well, one of the ways that authorized users is really, really good and impactful is for them to be able to get into a home of any size as long as their income, and everything else lines up, right? That's going to be able to help them to get the best interest rates in that situation as well.
Awesome. You shared a story earlier about a gentleman who had taken out a credit card or a loan and ended up getting hurt and had some difficulties paying it back, and it cost him a lot. But what is one of the worst financial mistakes that you've seen in a business beyond someone getting hurt and being unable to pay?
So basically, merchant cash advances, which is called an MCA loan, is one of the worst ways for you to go in and try to establish business credit. Honestly, it doesn't really even establish good business credit. A lot of merchant cash advance brokers will say like, oh, we can't get you anything else, so we're going to use this to establish business credit for you, and then we'll get you into something better in 6 months. Those are all lies. They're not being honest with you at all. So in order for you to really truly get good business credit, either you can actually purchase some business credit and from honest and accountable people that we also have vendors that do this, and you can actually do a shortcut and be able to put like 2 to 10 years of history on the person's credit. So then that way, when they go in from the banks, they're like, okay, you've paid off $100,000. Now we can extend you $250,000. But the worst thing you can do is overextend yourself, right? So if you are not financially ready to be able to get a loan, don't just get a loan just to get the loan, right? Don't be like, hey, you know what? I want to keep up with the Joneses. That's a real thing, right?
Absolutely.
So stop overextending yourself. Look at where you are right now. Self-reflect. The best way to get to being a millionaire is to not try to keep up with the Joneses, but to really know where you personally are, right? If you know where you personally are and you want to know like where you're headed, don't surround yourself with people that you're competing with. Be true to yourself at all times. So reflect on your books, see what's going on. Is this something that's necessary? Do you have plans for this money? If you don't get it. Wait.
what are the first steps that someone should do when they've fallen behind on a payment?
I think what someone should do when they have fallen behind on a payment is to be able to, it's very hard to be able to answer this question because you could organically build it up again by staying on time with your payments from forth on after that. But basically just being able to get rid of it in general, that derogatory, is something that's going to help you ultimately more in the end rather than trying to do it organically, because it is going to take a lot longer and a lot more time and effort rather than just being able to take it off.
Mm.
Right.
So make the minimum payment if you can.
Make the minimum payment and also make a priority list. If you have a mortgage, always pay that on time. If you have a car note, always pay that on time. If other things you don't, I mean, credit cards are very easy to pay on minimum because even like, let's just say a $10,000 payment, like, or credit card and you're overextended, your payment may be like $200, right? Like it's not going to be a lot. So, but the thing is like put things on minimum and always pay your mortgage and your car notes always, always, always on time. If other things are going like, you know, getting late and you just, if that's your priority, make those two things your priority. Other things we can like deal with and take care of, like that's not a big deal, but like you don't want to get rid of your mortgage and your auto history at all.
You got to have a place to live and you
Yes.
got to get to work.
Exactly.
100%. 100%. What advice would you give to someone right now who's trying to scale up responsibly?
I would say something to do in order to scale in credit in general or as a business owner.
Let's talk about the personal side.
The personal side. Okay, so I would say to be able to it's kind of a hard question to answer because it depends on what your goals are. But if you are wanting to be more aggressive about and be able to build up your credit faster, I would say to get some AUs on there, to get some trade lines on there, to be able to create more history on your credit report, to be able to get the things that you want.
Yeah. And also, a lot of people don't know that you can actually put rental history on there. So if you don't have a home right now, but you've been renting, you can actually backdate some of your rental history about 10 years or so. A lot of people don't know that. So that's a primary account that will show like you've been paying whatever it is, $2,000. I'm just saying an arbitrary number. But you can actually put that on there and then people can actually see like, okay, they have primary accounts. I know a lot of people want to do that credit boost where they put like their, utility bills and stuff like that. I don't think that's much of an impact as far as you trying to go and get loans. If you're just trying to get a score just to get a score, you can do that with, as Jasmine said, with an authorized user. But if you're really trying to build your credit and say like, hey, you know what, I have really great credit and now I'm trying to go and get some money, then that's another conversation that we're going to need to have and see what we need to do to get you there. But if you usually have like a smaller credit card, our thing is going to say like, okay, how do we get your credit card to give you more line of credit to boost you up some more, right? So then that way that you can still keep the history, but then now you're getting a higher line of credit on your credit.
It sounds to me like bills that you're supposed to pay, like my light bill, water bill, whatever that is, like those aren't necessarily like, you're supposed to do that.
Right. Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I don't want to degrade that situation, but when you go to the bank, they just don't have a lot of respect for it. They're not giving there. It's not being weighed the same way it would if you actually have a loan or a credit card on your credit report.
Understood.
So they want to see you actually paying down your credit cards because those are the type of lines they're extending. They're not going to extend you a utility bill, like, hey, I'm going to give you a utility bill. So that's what we're extending to you. No, they're extending you money, right? So they want to see like, okay, have they taken care of another debt that's similar to what we're trying to extend to them so we can give them something similar to that.
Is there a difference between And this is a non-scripted question, but I had someone say to me, "Wow, you have good credit, but you have great auto buying credit."
Oh yeah.
Is there a difference in those two?
There is. That's a really good question. So like when a lot of people, and we're not getting sponsored or anything, so I'm just telling you what our favorite website is. We like Experian.com because it is the most accurate in data. Okay, because it pulls credit from all three bureaus, and they're getting it directly from the bureaus, and it's on a FICO 8 system. That's what lenders are looking at. They may be advancing to FICO 10 in the near future. But all these numbers that are associated with the FICO, at the end of that Experian report, there's all this data on the bottom and all these different numbers that are associated with your report, and you're like, what is this, right? But next to it, it's like FICO 2. This is associated with your bank card, scores. FICO 4 and 5 is for your mortgage scores. FICO, I think it's FICO. I think it's FICO 5. Don't quote me, but it'll say auto scores. So on those auto scores, when you go, because if you've been paying all your auto loans on time, it gives you a totally different score. So when you actually go into a dealership or you're buying a car, you know what those scores are before they pull your credit, and you're like, well, how'd they come up with this, score? Now you know. So they're not looking at like the score that may be above that you may have gotten a ding because of your credit card. You have to look at your auto score. So when you go in, like, hey, they can't mess with you, and you're expecting a certain amount of interest rate based on off of that score.
So there is a difference.
There is a difference. Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What's the biggest myth about credit?
The biggest myth is just a lot of people have a lot of different myths. So it's really crazy. But like one we talked about is having like authorized users are going to be able to help me to go get a great loan. That's no longer a thing. It used to be a thing like I think like about a decade ago. It no longer is. The other myth is that people think that if you have a great EIN, you don't need to go and have personally really good credit. You do, unless you're going to go get an auto loan under your business. If you have really good business credit, they are looking to have some sort of like really good score on your business credit, and they will extend credit to you for a car just off your EIN. Everything else, no.
Thank you for that, Jasmine. What's the best advice that you would give an entrepreneur that's coming out right now when it comes to their credit?
I would say do not start a company by yourself right away, because again, you may want to just go online and just do it yourself. Get that shortcut, that 2-year shortcut that we talked about. Get an aged company. Make sure your personal credit is on point. If it isn't, talk to us. We'll make sure we give you a free analysis and let you know what you need to do and where to go from there. We'll get to know your personal needs, because everybody's needs are different,
sure,
right? So we're going to personalize our consultation to your needs. And then once we get to know that, we're going to build out that plan out for you, if you can. And a lot of people think like net 30s are amazing to get, and you have about 20 different net 30s and whatever. That's not going to help you to go get any real money. Okay, so net 30s are, if somebody doesn't know what net 30s are, it's basically like a gas card or something like that you have to pay off in 30 days or less. Okay. Business credit is a little bit different. So you can actually be a little late on your business credit and it won't put a ding there, where on your personal credit, it does. And the other thing that's day and night difference between business credit and personal credit is that if you actually pay your debt off early and off, it gives you a much higher credit rating than in a personal credit, where they don't want you close out your any debts, because it'll decrease your credit scores by like 20, 40 points, depending on that account. So business credit and personal credit is totally different. But do not start your business from scratch, because you're literally not going to be able to go out and really get the money you want. You want to be at least 2 to 3 years in the making before you go to get bank. And any small business is going to need to get money to start their business.
Wow. I will tell you this. I have learned a tremendous amount about this, and like my head is swimming in oh man, I think I'm looking back at my past and saying, oh, man, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have done that, or leveraged this, or those types of things. Give us some closing thoughts, not only about this conversation, but how you can help someone, and then how can somebody reach out to you. So plug your website, your contact information, those types of things.
What I would like to say is that no matter where you're at in your business or in your credit, like you said, like you saying that I wish I did this before, and I think we all have those thoughts of thinking, oh, I wish I could went back in time. I would have been so ahead now. But I think we should just live in the moment and be able to help each other out now and be able to get on our credit and on our business now. So you could reach us, or you could go to our website at creditpromax.com. And
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, honestly. I don't believe in living in regrets. I believe in living in the now. And now that you've seen us and know who we are, this is literally a 30-day in the making situation. We're giving you a shortcut in life and helping you to start over. Everybody deserves to be able to start over, especially with everything that we experienced during COVID. So many people had to walk away from their friends and family and businesses in order for them to take care of a loved one. So especially while like a lot of parents that were a little bit older, they had to go and take care of them, making sure that they were alive during the process. So all of us need a jump start somewhere. So don't live in regret, but do live in the now. And if you keep postponing your future, which we don't have any promises of where we're going to be tomorrow, we're never going to be able to get to where we want to be tomorrow, right? So start your journey today with us and test us out. See if we can really do what we're saying we're doing. We're coming out into the communities and really shaking people's hands because we want you to know that we are real and that we are going to be accountable to you and to our community. So reach out to us at creditpromax.com. Sorry about that. And there's our contact information, and you can fill information out on there. And then our business line is 561-334-1902.
Perfect. I will make sure that goes right along here.
okay.
Awesome. This has been a phenomenal conversation. I really, really appreciate your time, and obviously you're an expert in this industry. And when we're done with this, I got a few personal questions I'm going to ask you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you guys for being here.
No, thank
you for having us.
Absolutely. If you'd like to be featured on Casey's Corner, please reach out to me directly. Please like, subscribe, share this video. Thanks very much. Have a great day.